News headline: Awaiting a rescue, which never came. The news article states, the remains of Derek Robert Constantine, a Stockton, California native, was recovered today. He has been missing for over 10 years. The badly decomposed body was discovered in a collapsed mountain fissure in the Sugar Valley Mountains. Police have initiated a manhunt for Juan Carlos Hernandez. He is sought as a material witness in connection with the strange case, which is now classified as a homicide. Detective Harris Freeman of the CBI said that 2 important pieces of evidence were recovered from the crime scene. One is a confession note allegedly written by the suspect, and the other was reputedly penned by the victim himself while imprisoned within the natural earthen fissure. Constantine's letter officially names Hernandez as his killer. However, all persons are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Below is an excerpt of Constantine's final testament, released from the victim's personal affidavit. Out hiking one afternoon on a solo trek, I discovered a small crevasse in the hillside near a mountain stream in Sugar Valley. It was too small to be described as a cave, but the entrance would have permitted a full-sized, agile person to enter if they could contort themselves enough to squeeze inside. Not that I possessed the desire that day to finagle my way into the narrow opening. I had no idea how far back the passage went, and feared having an uncomfortable wildlife encounter. I wasn't about to wedge myself inside the tight fissure to investigate. The first rule of exploring is to avoid doing dangerous things. The second is to travel with a buddy, when you do those dangerous things anyway. So one of you can go for help and rescue if a crisis arises. That was 2 good reasons to avoid it. Ultimately, the discovery was an interesting find in the remote wooded enclave, but I had more important destinations in mind to explore. I made a mental note to mention the potential critter haven to a buddy of mine, and was on my way. I might have completely forgotten about the earlier diversion, had the memory not been triggered by the mention of strange animal tracks being spotted in the vicinity. News of this anomaly came from the very friend I meant to tell about the cave in the first place. When I asked Carlos for more details about the footprints, I remembered the little hideaway on the hill, and realized it was a likely source for the creature, which left the unusual paw prints. Immediately, his face grew pale, and he became uncharacteristically animated. "Don't go in there, Derek. It's not safe," he practically shouted. "I need you to listen to me for a change." I was puzzled by his visceral, exaggerated reaction. It was out of proportion with the earlier calm temperature of our conversation. One minute my friend was telling me matter-of-factly about large, unknown animal footprints in the soft mud around the mountain stream. The next, he was making an emotional plea for me to avoid my new discovery at all costs. He acted like it was a deadly trap, and my life depended on believing him. It strongly implied he knew something about the crevasse, and I seized on the insinuation. Sheesh, Carlos. Calm down, dude. What's in there anyway? It can't be that bad. Without explanation, he just repeated his brash warning, this time with even more animus in his quavering voice. I'm not gonna lie. The evasive way he avoided answering made me deeply curious about it. I even tried redirecting my questions to focus more on the unknown creature which made the tracks nearby, but he stonewalled about that too. In the end, he simply shut down and wouldn't talk about any of it. We went from bringing up the subject to simultaneously refusing to answer any follow-up questions. The juxtaposition was bizarre and left a bad taste in my mouth. I sensed it was a sore spot to him. I decided to leave and give him space. At the time, I didn't know what was troubling him so much, but honestly was too put off by the lingering subconscious hostility in his voice to figure it out. It seemed to come out of nowhere and implied I was reckless and incapable of taking care of myself. Who was he to tell me what to do? I'm arguably a better hiker and explorer than him anyway. It felt deeply condescending, like he was talking down to a small child. That infuriated me to no end. I suppose it could be chalked up to foolish ego, folly, or hurt male pride. But this morning I found myself marching willfully toward that small opening in the hillside. Now, I realize I was a fool on a fool's errand. At the entrance, I debated briefly what I already knew I was going to do. My mission was to show Carlos I was fully capable of deciding what was and wasn't safe. I had pepper spray in my pack of supplies if there was a bear or dangerous animal inside. Safe, exploring dangerous places with a buddy be damned. I was going it alone. I was so determined to defy his disrespectful warning that I'd stopped thinking logically and threw caution to the wind. It wasn't the first time I looked before I leaped, but knowing what I do now, it was destined to be my last. I should have wondered why he'd become so adamant to stop me. I realized now it was a clever ruse, and I embraced the stupidity. I pushed my hiking pack into the hole first, then shimmied in behind it. Once fully inside, I saw that it opened up into a small, closed-off room. A quick scan of the inside with my headlamp revealed I was thankfully alone. Over in the corner, I saw an ornate pile of rocks. They were artfully stacked in such a way to suggest they were arranged by human hands. There was also a bottle of Spanish sherry called Amontillado leaned against it, with a note addressed to someone named Fortunato. On top of the rock pile was a neatly folded letter. I'll admit, I grinned from ear to ear. It was from Carlos. He obviously knew I'd ignore his insincere warning and take the bait. Sadly, he was right. But my foolish grin rapidly turned to a scowl as I read his venomous words. It all makes sense now. The reason for his sudden change in demeanor. And my reckoning was finally clear. Dearest Derek, Fortunato, a man of honor doesn't seduce his friend's wife. That's the actions of a worthless scoundrel. With the greatest of irony, you found yourself in another tight place, which you shouldn't have entered. This shall be your tomb. Enjoy the wine, friend. You deserve your fate here, asshole. Goodbye. Montresor. I read his angry words with tears of regret in my eyes. The mistakes I'd made could not be undone, and I had no means of begging his forgiveness. Escape was impossible. An explosion at that moment shook the entire mountainside. He obviously set up dynamite at the top to permanently seal me in. I watched in horror as the entrance closed and went dark. My tortured screams were stifled by the haunting echo of being buried alive. Perhaps someday my lifeless body will be discovered and the truth will finally be revealed. I ask the heavens for divine forgiveness for my sins and shortcomings, and secular justice for the one who left me here in this pit to die. Let it be known in no uncertain terms that Carlos Hernandez was my judge, jury, and executioner. Signed, Derek Robert Constantine.